So today's mental health minute is when to walk away. So I was trying to think of a good way to kind of segue into this or talk about it. And, mental health is important. And first off, if you're suffering from any kind of issues, please talk to somebody. 988 is always a good one. VA, their military one source. There's always outlets. Don't try to suffer in silence. But there comes a point in everybody's career, whether you're in the military, in the civilian sector, airlines, or whatever, where you're going to have to hang it up. You're not going to continue on this path. If you're a fighter pilot, you're the world's greatest fighter pilot, one day you will have a Finney flight. Hopefully it's a Finney flight that you know about, but unfortunately there are people that have Finney flights and they don't know it's the last time they're going to step to that jet. But ideally, one day you'll know, whether it's your decision or somebody else's decision, that it's your last time going to this airplane. And today's mental health minute is about, one, knowing when that time is, if you make the choice yourself, whether it's time for you to move on for your own personal reasons, for your family, you don't like the institution, whatever it is, your mental health cannot take it anymore to be a part of this, whether it's military, civilian, whatever. At some point, you have to know when to walk away and say, I've had enough. Just like running cold, we have retrograde, when the air picture is too bad and, we can't fight anymore, we'll get out. We spent a lot of time in T-38s talking about, if we're in a fur ball and we lose situational awareness, we're going to get out and not make this problem worse. So whether it's tactically or strategically, it's important to know when to walk away for our own safety and for our own mental health, so we're not pushed in a bad situation. It's tough as a fighter pilot, because as a fighter pilot, we want to keep fighting and doing and whatever, to the point where we'll drain ourselves. We'll bring ourselves down because, we know it's bad for us, but we're going to keep fighting for this abusive relationship. So today's mental health minute is about knowing when to walk away, and more importantly, guys, how to deal with that change when you do walk away. How do you reconcile that about, hey, I just said, you know what, I can't do this anymore, I'm done. And so I'll turn it over to you guys, because you've both told stories of doing exactly that in your military careers.
Go ahead, Shanghai. You're the guest. Well, you go first.
Yeah. It's a big topic. I'll try to be brief, but the thing is, you just, I think the most important thing is to sort of be in tune with your mental state, and and that's something maybe difficult to do objectively for yourself, but have that person or people in your life that you trust, who you have a relationship with, where they'll say, hey man, you okay, because you seem a little this or that, or you're not quite as sharp or whatever. I've tended not to have those people, and I will admit that in the fighter pilot culture, where you've got a bunch of Type A people who have probably not failed at much, if anything, and then it's super competitive at a level that's probably not very healthy, frankly, but it's necessary, I think, and you can become so focused that you just burn out, and the burnouts are, they can be abrupt and ugly, and you hope it doesn't end in a tragedy along the way as well. So and I'll just tell you from my own personal thing is that this happened to me when I was at the fighter weapons school, which is a pinnacle of a fighter pilot's sort of ascension along the ladder as a junior officer, and all the things that I didn't understand, didn't seek to understand, didn't know what to call them, and I do now. A lot of those things happen: imposter syndrome, just this overwhelming pressure, uncertainty about the future of the career path, just a lot of things that pressure, not so much pressure, but it was time to start a family or not, and so all those kinds of things, they all kind of came together in sort of a perfect storm of I was just mentally exhausted, and so and I could have pressed on, but I felt like I was maybe becoming a little unsafe, and certainly less effective than you need to be, or I should have been there, and certainly that I was built to be there, and so there's more to that story. But the point is that it was very difficult, and my Finney flight was the flight the day before. So, this was what you talked about, was not that plan the thing and tear it up. But it was very difficult, and then it became a little bit of an outcast for a bit there. But my initial commitment to the Air Force was up anyway, and so the whole process of PCSing was, and separating from the Air Force was not an issue. But then it's what am I going to do next? But you want to plan it a little more ahead of what I did as well. But you got to say, look, I'm a talented person, and there's another fulfilling future there for me. And they say the average person in their lifetime has 3 different careers, not jobs, but careers. So change and adapting to change is a part of any experience. But and then I'll tell you real quickly too. When I left the resident manager job at the Phoenix House, which was just going to be help them lock it down for COVID, and 3 years later, 3.5 years later, I'm still there. I burned out on that too. You can't work 100 hours a week every week and not take any time off and have no social life. The work might be very important. My kids were grown. I'm divorced, amicably divorced, but you got to get on with life too. And I'd thrown myself into another thing, third thing actually, it turns out for me, and just put everything I had into it. And you can't do that. You have to have a balance between those things. And then, as Mover said, the transition then away from that is. So it was a good decision to say, hey, look, and I actually back in it was May of 2022 that I said, hey, I think I need to transition away from this full-time everyday thing. It was August before I actually left, and so that it burned out more in between. But then I thought I had a plan for afterwards. When a few things didn't work out, I became despondent, frankly, and a little bit just bewildered about what to do. And I went over to the VA. It was one night. It was dark. It was raining. I was just there's a kind of walking around the downtown Oklahoma City area, and I was thinking, man, I'm just like, I was just at a point. The holidays were coming up. It was just before Thanksgiving, and I was just thinking that, man, I should, it's August to October. I should have something better going now, and I just felt like maybe I'm an imposter. Maybe the greatness of the past is used up in the past, and it just felt like alone and sort of lost, frankly. And it's hard to miss. But I went up to the VA to the ER because it was nighttime. I walked in. I just said, "Look, I'm just a little down, and just a little mentally having trouble focusing on what's the priority. Just not even just to the bigger picture of life, but like, why am I walking around downtown at 8:00 at night in the rain? And so." It's just a couple blocks of VA, and so they're very kind and take your vitals and sit you down and have a doctor talk to you, and they have a mental health person come in and talk to you, and then they're wheeling you up down through the catacombs to an elevator to take you to the 8th floor, semi against your will, I mean, frankly, but it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't against my will, but it was just. But you know what, my will was if this is what the professionals think I need to go to the psychiatric ward of the VA hospital, and which has a stigma, the 8th floor, and I'd taken a lot of guys and checked them in over there from the veterans house, but if that's what they think I need, then I'm going to be open to that. And you know what, I stayed. I could have signed myself out at any point, but I stayed 4 or 5 days longer than I even had to, because it was a good place where I could rest and get some counseling and get my priorities back straight and just sort of get my point of reference straight again. And I left there the day before Thanksgiving and enjoyed Thanksgiving with my children and their mother and her family and friends and things. And it was a good day, a good experience. And it was a process that helped me get on the right path to a better mental health and excitement about the future and a better balance in life and things. And so I'd say the answer to the question is walk away before you have to, before you're a danger to somebody, when you still have your dignity. And if you need some help in doing that, get it. And there's a lot of resources for people, whether they're in the military or not. And the stigma about mental health issues is becoming less of one. I felt like it was something that you didn't want to say. I don't understand my feelings, as a fighter pilot, but yeah, I'd say it's something that but once you do it, once you walk away, don't look back. You can look back fondly at good memories, but don't compare. Don't second guess. Just move forward, and it's like, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Just if you take a bite today of your goals towards whatever, you're making progress. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Conky.
Yeah, Shanghai. I mean, you guys have both said a lot. I won't say a whole lot other than, just because you walk away, that doesn't mean you're quitting, right? So that doesn't mean like you've lost, right? When to walk away that can be determined by a lot of things. So like I remember when I was active duty contemplating to stay in or get out, the conversation in the ready room was, what do you do when you're like 24 and you've achieved your lifelong goal?
Yeah.
Right. We're all sitting there like, well, I guess I could go to the airlines. It's like, that sounds pretty boring. It's like, well, they make a lot of money. It's like, well, yeah, but they're gone a lot. Right. So, I mean, what do you do? And I saw a lot of guys just keep doing what they were doing, even though they were unhappy, just because they like, what else do you do? Right. So, and I think it's Jim Rohn that said this, is like, you're not a tree, man. If you don't like where you're at, move. Right. So, I quit active duty. I quit the Navy, went to the Air Force. I've quit a lot of things, and it's Shanghai mentioned it. The timing's got to be right, and I think that's the trick, is knowing when the timing is right. And if it's flying airplanes or career or anything like that, and I hate to keep saying this, but I'm a Christian, and I always try to look at where I think God wants me to go. I know it sounds crazy, but I am not a smart man. I don't have the mental capacity to figure these things out, but I look for my own personal signs of where I think I need to go, and I go, and I don't look back. And that has served me very well. Is it luck? You can call it that. I think it's otherwise, but I do know, and Shanghai talked about it, like I'm the kind of guy, if I would have stayed, like I think bad things would have happened, because you start to not care, and that's the worst thing that can happen, right? So you need to know when to leave, not only for you, but for everybody else. And I think it's a good thing. It's a healthy thing. And, you don't realize where your talents, everybody has talents, will take you. The things you'll do. Like this podcast is a great example. If I would have never left active duty Navy, I would never have got to talk to known mover, or actually get to talk with Shanghai, right? A famous A-10 pilot, right? So, you just don't know, what you don't know. So don't be afraid, don't be afraid of weighing your options and making changes, and knowing when to walk away, and then just trusting that decision. But that's all. I think
one other quick thing is don't let your identity be your job, or your spouse, or your girlfriend, or your car, or whatever it is, because that, and I did, and I think as a group we do, and it's okay for it to be a significant part, and some things require more than others. They require more sacrifice. They require more outside study, and I will tell you that military aviation, at any level, certainly at a fighter pilot level, is one of those things. You can't half-ass it. You can't phone it in, and you can't study tomorrow for the test that's today. And that the test is probably going to be in the air, and the wrong answer may be your life, or somebody else's life, or somebody's life on the ground, or whatever, or dinging a taxpayer's property, or whatever. But the point is that that's not what life's about. And I agree with Gonky. Whatever your faith tradition is and your belief system, there's room for a lot of those. But I'll tell you, one book that you can read is Purpose Driven Life by Rick Warren. It's the second best-selling book in the history of the world, next to the Bible. And it's a faith-based book, but it's not from any particular denominational view. It uses 35 translations of the Bible, and it's just an attempt to say, what are we here for? What's the purpose of us in this life, and what is it in the bigger context of eternity, or and I think if you read that, you'll find that maybe your belief system will change a little bit into the fact that we're not here about flying jets or doing this job or that job or the Navy or the Air Force or Israel or Hamas or whatever, or YouTube or Twitter. We're here to be good people, to raise some progeny that are good people, to love each other, and improve our world. Do what you can with what you got, with where you're at, and certainly career is important, and a comfortable life economically is important. But I'll tell you what, being the biggest hero of the war, or having the longest career, or reaching the 4-star rank or whatever, those are all good things. But not compared to raising good kids, who are good young people who are going to have good life and keep that going. So there's just other priorities in life as well, and I think a balance in all those things is important. It's hard. It's easy to lose that when you're focused on one goal, even as important as it might be. So.
Yeah, and I want to point out, we do have an audience, as we've seen through some of these chats, that are aspiring to be fighter pilots. That make them tell you no. I say that all the time. Don't self-eliminate. All that means is don't self-eliminate. Don't be afraid to walk away. No might be the answer. Make them tell you no doesn't mean the answer won't be no. It just means that don't make yourself the obstacle that prevents you from achieving your goal. Go out there and take it. And if the answer is no, there's a whole lot of life out there other than this job. There are some miserable people flying fighters in the United States military.
Oh, yeah.
Period. That does not mean they're happy. It is cool to do. It is a fun, fulfilling job. You are serving your country. All that stuff is awesome, but it ain't everything. So don't be afraid, even in the early phases, to walk away and go do something that better fits you, that's more fulfilling for you, that takes better advantage of your talents.
Because that's a good point, Mover. And I think my answer might have been a little more of the macabre, but real quickly, that was kind of part of my decision too. Is I had done all the great things I was going to do in the jet. As blessed to have that experience. And my career path was going to be finish weapons school, go to squadron officer school, be the generals, our 1-star wing commanders, C&I captain, then go to the Pentagon for a 3-year plum tour, and then come back to flying at some point and be a fast burner, be major below the zone and all that. And that's great. That sounds exciting as well. But it allowed me to say, you know what, this has been awesome. And when I'm starting to look at it as not as awesome and as a compromise and as a now that's going to suck, but then maybe in the future, and when you and then you got to get a master's degree to become a major and all this stuff that it just didn't seem to have anything to do with what I was primarily doing, which was at the PhD for fighters pilots, So when I started to become a little disgruntled, I guess is what I'm saying. When I started to not be so excited about it and just, it's awesome and we're awesome and we want to be more awesome. And when it became, there's a lot of hard days in there, but when the excitement became scrutiny and the scrutiny became disgruntled a little bit, and when we started kind of, when it started to be, that conversation started to be mumbling about the shitty new rules or whatever, instead of excited about what we're doing, then that was the time to be, I think that was the time to consider walking away. You don't want to walk away when there's just some adversity. Oh, I busted that first check ride in pilot training. I guess I better SIE because I'm not going to be able to make it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just fight for it. If you want to, there's nothing wrong with saying, man, I really wanted this. I thought I wanted it so badly. I thought it was going to be this. And to me, it's not that. And so I'm going to go use my talent somewhere else. There's nothing wrong with that. Just don't do it at the first sign of adversity. I think sometimes we make the quitting or the whatever too easy. But is a society, but at the same time, you'll know when your attitude is changing from one of hope and excitement to one of fear and worry and you don't want that. You don't want to become disgruntled and then disenchanted and then just sour, because it'll eat you alive.
You still need grit. You're going to need grit no matter what
Exactly.
you do. You
For
need
sure.
you need that ability to pick yourself up by your bootstraps and keep going.
You bet.
This is a discussion of when is this not a fit? When do I walk away? Whether it's over time or mid-career or early in your career or whenever, at some point you're going to have to walk away, and that's all. Douglas, I always love hearing from the resident psychologist in our group, especially when it comes to mental health.
For legal reasons, I'm not a psychologist.
Please put on TV.
I think that there's a human tendency and a cultural tendency to eat what's put on your plate, to finish what you started. I mean, there's all that pressure toward completion. And when you get in a situation like you guys are talking about, the common thread I got both from Shanghai and from Gonki is find somebody you trust to take a look at it. I mean, if that means a faith leader, if that means a professional, you need somebody to say, hey, is this really where you need to be? Because you might not be able to see it yourself. And like Saigon said, though, at the same time, listen to your gut. And if your gut is saying time to walk out, check with somebody you trust. And it's okay to choose a new path. Sunk cost fallacy is something people might want to look into if they want to know more about this. Just because you've put a lot into it doesn't mean it's still good.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yep.
That's it from my side of the table.
Awesome. Well, no, I think that covers the mental health minute.